Hello, I'm Oral, and welcome to Speaking of Everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. Well, my guest is not a stranger to this program. She's been on this show many times on Speaking of Everything and also on Oral Gives Live. Today, we're going to speak with her about herself, do a little profile, find out who's this lady. She is the current ombudsman of St. Martin. Madam Ombudsman, how are you doing?
Good morning. Mr. Gibbs, always a pleasure to be here in the studio with you.
All right, good to have
Thank you
here.
for having me.
Okay. So, your full name is what? Gwendoline?
Gwendoline Eleanor Mossel.
Wow.
Yes. And
Eleanor,
Eleanor. That's sounds like an old lady.
You ever got angry with your mother for giving you that
Yes,
one?
I was like, what? Eleanor? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yes. But what I get mostly is Mossel, all kind of ways they say that.
Where that name come from, right?
Yeah, Miss Mossel.
So the correct pronunciation is?
Mossel. I just do so I say Mossel.
But it's not a common name.
No, it's not.
Right?
It's not. It's not a common name. And speaking of who I am, where I'm from, just like myself and maybe you as well, we go abroad to study. Mm. My mom, born in Aruba, Arubian, she had to go away to study. Oh. Well, she had the opportunity to go and study, and she left to go to the Netherlands. At that time, they had a boat, a vrachtboot, which that was their form of transportation. That is how she ended up in the Netherlands. And she loved to dance. She's a dancer. Everyone who knows my mom loves to dance. And at the dance party, she met my father. And before that, she went to study nursing, and she became a registered nurse. And everybody know her as Nurse Monte. Sylvia Monte is her name. Nurse Monty, they still call her Nursey up to now. Mm. When I'm on the road, people stop me. How's your mom? Oh, what a nice woman. She took care of my mom or my babies.
She's just a great nurse. No, a lot of people could become nurses, but you don't see that love and passion that your mother.
Yes, that is true. That is one thing I have to thank her for and give her credit. And so she met my dad, and my dad also came to the Netherlands to study, and he came from Suriname.
Oh, okay.
Well, to study, and actually he went into the Marines, and they met at a dance.
And the rest is history?
The rest is history. Got married, and here I am. So my background, yes, my mother is from Aruba, my father is from Suriname.
So now everybody knows where the Mossel come from.
That is where Mossel come from, yes. And just like myself, when I decide, hey, I went to study in the Netherlands, I say, hey, I'm going back home, contribute. Yeah. And of course, you always want to go back to where you came from. Well, I have that passion. And my dad was the same. And he said, hey, he's going back home. He wants to go back to Suriname.
Oh, so you went back to Suriname?
So we went back to Suriname. I was, I think, about 1 or 2 years old. So born in the Netherlands, but don't know anything about the Netherlands really. Yeah. Grew up in Suriname, where I lived about 9 or 10 years, because I came here when I was 11, 12. Mm. And I lived in Suriname for that time. So I got the culture of Suriname there. I learned the history of Suriname in the primary school. And when it was in the 80s, 1983, if I'm correct, when you had he became president after Daisy Bouterse, when they had the coup, the takeover and the murders.
That was a bloody coup.
Yes, that was terrible. Well, I was there, and after that, it was really a difficult time also. And so my mom decided to come back to go back to Aruba, actually. Mm. She said, with everything that was going on, she said, we're going back to Aruba. And when she was arranging to go back to Aruba, her sister told her, come to St. Martin.
With Agnes?
Agnes, yes. Say, come to St. Martin, it's nicer, and come over here, And eventually we end up coming to St. Martin. So this is why and how we end up in St. Martin, because actually she's from Aruba. And so, came here, St. Martin, when I was 12, I think. And I did the Milton Peters College. I went to high school here. And I did the MAFO, the HAVO. And usually they say where you do your high school is where you really feel rooted and bonded. Yeah, that is where you build relationship and you move on.
Right.
And the time came also for me to go and study, make that decision to study abroad. So I also went to study abroad.
You went on a plane, not a boat.
I went by plane.
Just pull you.
Yeah, but it's still a long flight.
Yeah.
Still don't like that, all those hours flying. But I had the opportunity to go and study. And I had to say how my study came about, because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And while we were in Suriname, I guess my parents were dealing with the notary or notary. Yeah. And one day my mother just told me, she said, you know what, you need to go study notary. I was like, notary? Don't know nothing, don't know what is notary, whatever. She said, yeah, all you got to do is sign and you make a lot of money. I was like, oh, okay. So that is what I had in my mind from young.
Yeah.
Before we came to St. Martin, I said, that is what I'm going to study. I went through high school and I said, this is what I'm going to study. I remember Juffrouw Peters Labega. She was maatschappijleer.
Yeah.
I told her, I want to study notary. What do I do? How do I get there after half of 5? And she told me, just go to the HBO. You do 1 year, you get your propedeuse, which is a certificate that you get after your first year, and that allows you to go to the university to study law, and then you just choose, notary, notarial law.
At that time?
Sorry?
They didn't have VO at that time in St. Martin?
Yes, they did, but most people were going MAVO. Well, I did MAVO, and then I left. I didn't want to go to VWO.
It's too...
I just
2 years, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to go to VWO, so I decided to. I asked her. She gave me that option, which I am very grateful, and I always remember her for that.
So you went straight from Harvard to
the HBO.
The HBO, okay.
To the HBO. So then you had to first, get your propedeuse, which I did in 2 years, not 1 year. You have to get accustomed to the system, everything, but that's all right, And after I got my propedeuse, I went to study notarial law, not knowing what it is. I just know that's what I'm gonna do. And I liked it, but then you really get to know what it is all about. And to be honest, it is quite boring.
I was just gonna say, well, it's amazing. But you need them, You
need them. It's quite boring, but I love the part of the estate planning, the your will, your last will and testament, and that the erfrecht, and the helping people. How you say the parting of the will, the division of goods, and so that is a nice part of it, and. I studied there. I did it. When I was done, I was ready to come back. I said, Mommy, I'm ready to come back. Always ready to come back. She said, no, do everything that you need to do. They have an internship. Follow the internship. Because I graduated. I got my bill, as they say it, as they call it. And I was ready to come back. She said, no, go and work, go and do your internship. I said, they don't need that in St. Martin. They don't have that. Once you got your bill, you're good to go, She's like, no. So I am grateful to that right now. So I decided to go and look for work to get some experience and do, they call it beroepsopleiding, my beroepsopleiding internship.
Right.
And I went to work at the notary office in the Netherlands.
How long did you
6 years I worked there, and the first 3 years was the beroepsopleiding. I did finalize it within the 3 years. It was quite tough, but did it. And that is where you learn, you build experience, not only regarding notarial law, but also dealing with people, engaging with the public, but also colleagues, because that builds you. And remember, a black woman within a Dutch environment, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. A woman and black. So you learn, you grow, you know, and I'm a spiritual person, trusting in God. And that is the way I got my way to finally finalize it and say, hey, time to go back home.
Where in the Netherlands did you work at the time? Amsterdam or Rotterdam?
Brummen, actually. It was close to, because I was living in Nijmegen, then I moved to Elst in a smaller town, and it was close to it, so I could drive to it, so that is why. So within such a small community, they had a lot of farms there and farmers.
That's nice.
And
that's really nice.
Yeah, but you know, they think differently.
Right.
And you know, even the notary was like, beautiful, we have a beautiful black woman working with us. And you know, he was always kind of fascinated with it. But it was good. It was a very good experience.
That's good. So you left the Netherlands, right? Mm-hmm. What year was that?
I came back in 2008. And the nice thing of that is that studying notary and having done all of that, all the doors were closed
when you got here, right?
When I got here. And I did my internship actually during my studies at Spachens.
Yeah.
I gained good experience there, you know, and I was like, hey, yeah, you know, there's a way back. But all of those were closed for notary, so I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And I decided, you know what, I will just move to government, look into government. And my sister said, hey, I know the lieutenant governor at that time, Franklin Richards, Mr. Franklin Richards. She said, write your letter, send me a CV, and I will personally carry it for you. I said, okay. And I wrote a letter and everything, and she carried it to him. I got a call the next day, because she called, she said, I gave it to him. The next day, I got a call. And he said, yes, I got it, and I got your information, and yes, we need people, you know, who studied law, and you can work in my cabinet. I have a spot, or legal affairs, we need, you know, people. Yeah. So I say, okay, great. And then he said he's going to contact me again. Then he contacted me after a couple of days. He said, yes, I have decided you're going to work in my cabinet. So as a legal advisor on immigration matters, immigration law. I was like, what? Immigration? I said, I don't know nothing about immigration.
But you did it anyway, right?
Yes, because the thing of it is, once you study law and you understand the law, the system of the laws, you can understand any law and you can follow and work. I do not litigate, but anything legal, you can work with that. Okay. And so I returned to St. Martin. I had a family at that time, 3 daughters. Wow. We all returned to St. Martin. And I started to work as a legal advisor to the Lieutenant Governor.
That was just before 10-10-10.
Yes, and this is the good thing, because it was, I think, 2 years. And when I was there, I think my first year, everybody talking about what is coming, and you will not have at that time the gezaghebber, you will not have that anymore, where you're gonna end up, and a whole story. But we had the immigration department already working, and what was good is that where I was positioned, I was dealing with the appeal cases, and you would see the whole system of immigration, so you know where the bottlenecks are. You know where things are wrong, what is lacking. And that gave me actually an opportunity to get to understand and learn our immigration system. And so that was a good thing. And after that, indeed, it was no more. And it became IND, the immigration. Well, it used to be IND, sorry, Immigration Naturalization Department, but then it became, during my time, the Immigration Border Protection Service.
You were there when the transition took place.
I was there when, yes, I was there when the transition took place. It was a great experience. Just to see, at that time also you had, it wasn't easy. You had Mr. Duncan, who was then the minister.
Justice.
And he was a good minister because he knew his stuff. He knew what it was to be a minister, what it takes to build. And he made his changes. He came with some points that stood out with me. For instance, he was like, hey, I'm going to make some changes to the policy that we have in place, the Richtlijnen at that time. And he said, why, if after 5 years you could go for your passport, why do we have 10 years to get a permanent residency?
Don't make sense, huh?
Don't make sense.
Right. That's the kind of person he's a very
Yes, and so he said, hey, we're going to change that. Another thing that I find that he stood up strong about was also, who are we letting into the country? For the visa requirement, before, I think it was the Netherlands, and they would say who, I guess in the whole kingdom, who was allowed to enter. And he was like, no, this is our island, our country, well, constituent state.
Right.
Yeah. And we decide who we want. For instance, in Curacao, they love to have Jamaican nationals. They don't have an issue. Here, we wanted it, limited it. And so we say, no, we do want it. And in Curacao, they didn't want Colombians. And here it was like, we don't have an issue with Colombians. So that is, where it came about. So each island had the choice to choose, who you want in and who you want to put a visa requirement on. So I find that was also very good.
What's interesting is before that, the lieutenant governor made all those decisions.
Yep, everything felt on
changed after that.
Correct.
And the current governor had no more powers like the lieutenant governor.
No. It's a total change. We have ministries now. And that was my time at immigration. Another highlight with immigration was, of course, the Brooks Tower.
Oh, that one was quite
It started out not good, but I was part of the second, the extension of the residence permit that was given under the Brooks Tower. Was a great experience. And what I just want to highlight on that, it was, which we always talk about, and even now, about cooperation within government, within the departments, within ministry. And the cooperation between us and the Labor Department, go back into immigration time, Immigration Department, Labor Department, Census, it's so important. And with Brooks Tower, we saw that because all those people needed different forms. And at the time when in the past, we've been asking them to have insight in their system so that we could see who is registered, make it so much easier. And instead of people having to go there, come back. But with this, because it was so many people, they didn't want so much people coming by the government building, that they decide, hey, we're going to give you INCAG. So we could see in their system, we were handling the registrations forms, payment was done at the window of immigration, and it was a flow. And I wish that it would have continued.
It didn't continue.
Because it didn't continue after that. So so it is possible.
Every agency wants control. In government, unfortunately, that's
and that is a wrong perception. It's one-stop shop, as I always say.
Better.
When I worked in the Netherlands with a notary, if we could not look into systems, I could never do my work. Right before you going to sign to sell a piece of land, you need to know if somebody put a lien on it or whatever. You need to have the access to look into these systems that actually is one government.
Yeah, you got to send a request to cadastre and everything else.
Yes.
But in case you just joined us, this is Speaking of Everything. I'm Earl Gibbs. I'm here speaking with the current ombudsman, Mossel. and she's my guest. We do a little profile, speak with her about her background, where she came from, and everything else. So I'll tell you what, when we come back, you're seeing it right now on screen, we'll be back again right here and Speak About Everything on Hot 99.9 FM radio with our current Ombudsman of St. Martin, Ombudsman Mossel. But today we are speaking about her, so it's a whole profile on her. All right, we'll be right back. Please stay with us.
We are vibrant, expressive, warm, and diverse. Together, we conquer, and now we expand into new horizons, giving you more of the best. Introducing our new Bankomatico Plus with wider acceptance, purchase protection, and enhanced security. Whether you're online, traveling, or in paradise, experience more with Windward Island Bank. Bankomatico Plus. More of the best.
My guest on Speaking of Everything is Mossel. Mossel is currently the Ombudsman for St. Martin, and we're doing a little profile here, getting to know the lady, Miss Mossel, and everything else. So, you know what's interesting? I didn't even know you was at immigration, all that, right? And then, so you stayed there for how long?
2008, 2010, 2015, I left and I went to work as the legal advisor from the ombudsman at the Bureau Ombudsman, yes.
You was in a much better place
years,
now, right?
Yes.
In a way, right?
Well, it's progress, let's say it like that, you know. It's just from an other point of view, you know, from another perspective.
Yeah.
Still working on, you know, our country and for the people.
But it was different.
But
what you said, right? Wasn't it like a big difference because the ombudsman was new?
Yes, yes.
You know?
For me, it was definitely new, and actually, I must admit that the first ombudsman, Dr. Nilda Ardown, approached me 10 because she was setting up her office as well, and she did approach me and ask me if I was interested.
Well, you said no?
I didn't know nothing about ombudsman, just like I didn't know nothing about notarial law. I was into my immigration. I just got the good grip. I was excited to start, you know. So I was like, I told her, you know, I'm going to start there, this, that. And she said, you know, I understand. You know, yeah, it's okay. But that was actually, I would have started earlier, if anything. Yeah. But I was just into immigration at that time. So then I said no. And in 2015, the legal advisor that she had at the time was leaving. And so she was looking again. She approached me also again. And of course, she was searching. And then I said yes. Willing to. Then I understood a little more because we also got letters from the ombudsman on our desk, you know. So
you moved in there 2015.
In 2015, I became the legal advisor. I worked in 2017. I became the acting ombudsman, Plaatsvervangend ombudsman.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, I became ombudsman. The end of 2018, I was sworn in to be the second ombudsman. And it wasn't an easy road. It wasn't an easy thing. I'm here sitting, I'm laughing, but it was quite tough.
It's the most difficult job.
It was not easy.
Especially in St. Martin, huh?
Yeah, but not in that sense, but to be prepared to do it. When she said, hey, you know, she's going to leave office and she would like someone from who knows the work to, you know, to take over because she don't want to leave it vacant. She drilled me. She worked me. Sometimes I was like, do I really want this, you know?
And you had some big shoes to walk in.
Yeah, but all of that. So it wasn't easy, but the way that Dr. Ardown prepared me, it was harsh, it was rough, it was tough, but she didn't set me up to fail. She set me up to succeed.
And you hit the ground running. I can tell you that from experience. The first time I interviewed, I said, wow, she's amazing. So you didn't come in, you know, you really hit the ground running.
Yes.
And I think you surprised everyone. You know?
Yeah, it is just passion, drive, and I guess it is good that people could see it in you, because she saw in me maybe what I didn't even know. She pulled out of me what I had in me,
Right.
and actually, indeed, I came in a real tough time. It was in 2019. It was after Hurricane Irma. That, you know, we had all the destruction and everything that was going on with the rebuilding, the repairs, and, you know, people were frustrated, looking for help. And that is when I decided to do the outreach. And that was indeed, you know, a big thing, just coming on the scene and having to do that.
Let me ask you, you have to be an attorney, a lawyer, in order to be the ombudsman, or you can be ombudsman and not be a lawyer? Is it required?
It is. Most people require it, but it is not. You have some that are not lawyers, but it is. For me, I think it is very important to have that background, to understand, because that is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with laws, you're dealing with policies. That is, you know, that aspect. It is essential. I think it is essential. It is necessary to have that background. But the other part is, of course, you have to be a people's person. You have to have that passion. You have to have that drive. The buzzword was propriety, you know, proper propriety, standards of proper conduct. How do you deal with how does government deal with the public, you know? What is expected of government? Those were the things that started to play and come out, and as the awareness of the role of the ombudsman, of the constitutional mandate of the institution. Over time, I believe that awareness has really grown within government apparatus, civil servants, you know, the checks and balances. It took time, but overall, I think that the awareness is definitely there. I think also the trust has grown through the constant awareness. And I believe that the institution of the ombudsman is a well-established and recognized institution.
I think
today.
Most recognized than all the other new ones that came. You know, we had that. We had also the I think 2 or 3 others.
The Integrity Chamber.
Right, and there's also there's another one too. I can't remember the name offhand right now, but I know Ms. Solomon was.
The other high councils of state, yeah. So you have the General Audit Chamber, and you have the Council of Advice.
So
correct.
I think of all of them, the ombudsman is the one that is recognized by the community more than anyone else, because you're so accessible.
Because we deal with the community, we are the voice of
the others,
the
people should know also, but it's so difficult. See? So that's why I say it's and you need the right person to do the job as ombudsman too, because if you're a shy person, don't want to appear on radio or television, then you got a problem, because you have to address and inform the people.
Yes. And not only that, you also have to be strong in what you do. And that no matter what, because, you know, nobody likes it when you have to tell them, you know, where it's going wrong or what is wrong. But you bring it from a place of good governance. That is where we are heading.
Exactly.
Better service to the public. So if you understand the reasoning why, and it is overall for a better functioning of our whole community, society, our democracy.
And at the same time, you have to remember that it's only 15 years now. Before that, we didn't have the high council.
No,
so everything was the former Nelson Tillies.
Yes.
So getting accustomed to that took time.
Yes.
And that's why I say, when you compare them all, the ombudsman is the one that the people feel more comfortable with, and they recognize most. I wished I could say the same for the others, but that's not the way I see it.
Right. But you see, the others, they are, for instance, the Council of Advice is more dealing with the laws. So not really dealing with the public.
Yeah.
So
I had them on the show. Miss Alma,
Okay.
I had on the show.
Yeah, and then you have the general audit. They deal with the finances. You see them in the reports that come out, and they don't really deal with the public that much as, you know.
My belief is that once you are established in the government, in this case the high councils, I feel that the people have a right to know and to see you.
Yeah.
And to understand your function.
Sure.
And this is where I had issues as a young man when I came back to St. Martin. I said, no, you have accountability to the people. You can't be operating in a vacuum and quietly there.
Correct.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So that's why when I heard you was coming as ombudsman, I was a little like, I wonder if she's going to be like Dr. O'Doyle. How is she going to be?
Yeah.
You know, and that's why when you came in, I was like, wow, you impressed me right away, the first time. And I can say that up to today, that you're very accessible, which is important.
Yes.
But I think those others should be accessible also, because ultimately they are working for the people of St. Martin. And then we, the taxpayers, that pay for it. You see? So I just got it off my chest.
Okay. Yes, but so fast forward, I also got an opportunity to become a director on the international level. Then the director representing the Caribbean and Latin American region on the International Ombudsman Institute. The board of directors. So, I think that is a whole other experience to be with other ombudsmen. And the thing is, it doesn't matter how small we are and how big other countries are, it's the same everywhere. The same everywhere. And it is a lonely job. You are just by yourself. And so these, being there with other ombudsmen, sharing best practices, learning from each other, you know, it really helps, because you get somebody who understands you and understands what you are dealing with.
You know, I think when you're an ombudsman, many times you get into conflict with the government, because the government don't want to hear what the ombudsman is recommending. You know, so I can understand that. You know, and for St. Martin, we didn't know what an ombudsman was. You know, the masses was not aware of it.
Right.
And so now I think they're pretty okay with that. You know, but you how long you been now ombudsman?
This is 7 years. This is my 7 years.
The term is 7 years, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
you're telling me you're going to leave us now?
The term is. Thank God there is. Well, thank God, but the law provides for a second term.
Oh, okay.
So for continuity, a second term. Most of the ombudsman that I know, most of them, they go a second term in order to for continuity.
Yeah.
And then they have a second term after that. No longer. You have some that have for life. You have some that are even longer. But I think that should not be. I think a second term is good, because then it becomes maybe in some areas you need new refreshment. You know, you need just a new look at things. So I think it is important to have continuity. 2024 was a year of instability that we had on our island, and our institution recognized that, because we see we are finalizing our year report 2024.
Yeah.
And we see the influence that it has on the influx of people to the office. Believe it or not, it was about 100 less than the year before. Almost 100 less people.
2024?
Yeah, compared to 2023. And that all has to do with the instability. Really, we have seen it. And remember, we had 2 elections in 1 year. The beginning and then or somewhere at the end.
Yeah.
So people are reluctant. They are waiting. There's no move. It is stagnant. Also, even for our work, to continue, oftentimes we have to put cases on hold. So it affects. Continuity is very important.
Yeah, I think
and stability, of course.
I think it's been a rocky 15 years from 1010 to now, Could it been better? Yes, but I think that this arrangement that we have now is better than the first one. Give us a chance to have people like yourself. Before that, we had no ombudsman, and I think it opened up a lot of changes to St. Martin. And where we go from here, I don't know, but I hope that we'll see you back as ombudsman for another term, because it's important. And your connection with the people of St. Martin, I think is no one can question that. It's good, and I think people appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you very much. And I believe that government, as I said, awareness is there. They understand the institution, checks and balances. I think we have come a long way, and I do hope that this government remains for 4 more years. It is for the people. It is for us to be able to really get things going and moving. We have to have that stability.
Let me ask you this before you go. Dr. Ardoin, the first ombudsman, what did she say to you recently, seeing that you've been there now almost 7 years? Did she say, "You're doing a good job, I like what you're doing"?
I met her recently, and she said, persons came to me and they said, "You left the office." People were like, "Why? What's gonna happen?"
Mm-hmm.
But they find that it was a smooth transition. That you don't even know that, she's gone. And she said she's really proud of me and proud of what I am doing, and that we keep it going. She laid that solid foundation, and you build on that.
Well, she picked the right person.
Well, thank you for that. I'll do what I have to do. And one thing I want to give to people: when you in your career, you have to do something that you are passionate about, because when you have the passion, because believe me, as we said, it's not always easy. It's not easy, but when you are passionate, it drives you, and no matter what, you're gonna continue and you're gonna do it with the same passion, because you have that drive and you know what you're doing it for.
All right, so I was just speaking with Ms. Mossel, the current ombudsman of St. Martin. This was a profile on her, and we really appreciate having you in. And
thank you so much.
Much success, and
thank you.
Look forward to your second term as ombudsman. Right?
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
All the best.
You.
And that's it for now here on Speaking of Everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. See you next time. Take care. Bye.